In the year 3124, Earth's once vibrant skies had long faded into a clutter of satellites and orbital debris. Humanity, bold but bruised, teetered on the edge of collapse beneath the weight of its greatest enemy yet, the Core Syndicate. They were not monsters in the traditional sense. They were cold, efficient conquerors, a reptilian race wrapped in metallic exosuits and united under one directive: submission or extinction. Earth's defenses had crumbled in skirmish after skirmish. Colonies had gone dark, resistance was fragmented, and morale was decaying faster than atmosphere in a breached hull. Deep beneath the Carpathian Mountains, a secretive AI collective known as the Custodians of Valor enacted the final phase of Project Voyevod. Hidden away for centuries was a genetic relic, scraped from a sarcophagus sealed before Earth launched its first satellite. It wasn't just DNA, it was the mind map of a man who had once faced the Ottoman tide and pushed it back with strategy and fire: Stefan Mare, or Stefan the Great. Dr. Ileana Voicu, military historian turned strategic advisor, paced nervously in the sterile chamber. She had fought tooth and nail through bureaucracy to get this far, convincing the fractured Earth Council that desperate times called for legends, not logic. She stared at the biopod as it hissed open, mist rolling off the edges. A man stepped out, naked and wide-eyed, with battle scars inexplicably still etched across flesh, recreated from centuries-old matter. His eyes darted around the room, absorbing everything: the sterile lighting, the holographic consoles, the soldiers flanking the chamber's edge. He looked down at his own body, flexed his fingers, and then turned to Ileana. "Where am I?" he asked, his accent thick but intelligible, like a dialect that had survived in exile. "You are in the future," she said calmly, offering him a robe. "We brought you back because Earth needs a warrior, a leader, someone who understands war not through machines, but through will." "I have died once," Stefan murmured. "And yet I awaken not in heaven nor hell, but in a forge of light and steel." They gave him time, not much, but enough to walk among the fractured ruins of Earth's command structures. He observed AI-driven strategies devoid of soul, satellite-directed skirmishes lacking human cunning. The leaders of the Global Alliance considered him a relic, a symbol for the desperate, but nothing more. What good was a medieval prince against enemies who could cloak starships or rewrite time within neural clusters? But Stefan was no mere warlord. His genius had always rested in his instinct, the way he read people, terrain, and morale like a living map. His questions pierced where simulations failed. "Do your machines know fear? Do they bleed? Do they inspire courage when all hope fails?" he demanded at one council meeting. No one answered. It was at the Vesta colony crisis that his theories were tested. A core strike fleet had jammed all communications and forced the withdrawal of the Earth forces. A civilian population of nearly 10,000 was left stranded, soon to be either enslaved or massacred. The council debated a surgical retreat. Stefan stood. "Send me. Give me a squadron of ships and men who will follow orders not from programming, but from belief." Colonel Maddox, a cybernetic tactician, laughed aloud. "You want to charge lizard tanks with a sword?" "No," Stefan said coldly. "I will charge with fury and flame, and I will leave your machines to count the dead after." It was madness. And yet when Ileana handed him command of a retrofitted battleship, the Suceava Flame, every man and woman aboard volunteered willingly. They reached Vesta in time to see core landing parties closing in. Stefan didn't engage in open battle. Instead, he used old principles: distraction, misdirection, terrain manipulation. In the low-gravity fields of Vesta's ravines, his forces triggered mining explosions that turned the terrain itself into a trap. He predicted where the enemy would reposition, then struck with orbital bombardment masked by the solar flare of a nearby dwarf star. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 4 hours. Earth's official reports listed it as a statistical anomaly. But survivors spoke differently. "He rode into battle like he could see the whole field from the stars," one pilot said. "We didn't win with firepower. We won with faith." When the footage hit the networks, public fervor erupted. The man from history had won the first major victory in months. But within the halls of the Earth Council, silence spread like frost. "He's dangerous," Chancellor Rove said flatly. "He inspires loyalty, not to our protocols, but to himself." Ileana sat across from him. "He inspires survival. If that frightens you, Chancellor, then maybe he's the leader we've needed all along." In the silence that followed, 1,000 decisions were made. Files were redacted, orders drafted, observers drafted, observers assigned. But far above Earth, aboard the Suceava flame, Stefan stood staring into the void, stars reflected in his eyes. He had tasted the future's war and found it familiar, not in its technology, but in its stakes. The same darkness had always threatened the world: arrogance, tyranny, and the blind worship of power. His hand rested on the polished hilt of a newly forged blade, a fusion of ancient steel and nanoalloy. It was ceremonial, but balanced. Real. "Ileana," he said, as she joined him at the viewport, "your world is different. Your enemies are new. But the war remains the same, and I have not finished fighting." She met his gaze. "Then let's begin your next campaign." The silence aboard the Suceava flame was never empty. It pulsed with tension, data streams, whispered commands, and the low hum of the ship's AI systems filled the void. Yet for Stefan, it was the silence before a storm he understood. War had never been about noise. It was about timing, restraint, and knowing when to strike. Dr. Ileana Voicu walked with measured steps through the command corridor, flanked by monitors displaying fleet formations and resistance broadcasts. Every screen bore the same truth. Stefan's name was spreading like wildfire through Earth's outer colonies. After the Vesta victory, rebel groups, once leaderless and scattered, had begun coordinating under a new banner, the Voyevode Pact. Though reluctant to become a symbol, Stefan had accepted the burden. There was something eerily familiar about it, this rise of fractured hope in the face of extinction. It mirrored the lands of his old Moldova, under siege by stronger empires, sustained only by grit and faith. But the scale had changed. The stakes had multiplied. He now led ships, not horsemen. His enemies wielded plasma, not sabers. On the bridge, Commander Oren Niak, once a staunch skeptic of Stefan's command, saluted without hesitation. "Recon fleet confirms movement along Sector 9C. Core cruisers are circling Jatan Station. It looks like they're preparing another siege." "Then we strike first," Stefan said without pause. "Before they secure their flanks, send a ghost signal across their communications band. Make them believe we're deploying from the rear." "Deception?" Oren asked, raising an eyebrow. "War," Stefan corrected him. "Only the means have changed." Plans were laid swiftly. The Suceava flame would spearhead a diversionary fleet, while a covert wing, led by the stealth corvette Vlad's Edge, slipped through core defenses to disable their supply chain. The operation bore all the hallmarks of Stefan's old battlefield stratagems: misdirection, psychological warfare, and relentless precision. But outside the battles, a deeper conflict stirred. Earth's unified command, now centralized in the orbital fortress Terra Ascendens, watched Stefan's rise with increasing anxiety. His victories were gaining followers faster than Earth's own political rhetoric. Counselor Alina Vok, media liaison for the government, called him a populist with a sword. Others whispered darker terms: warlord, threat, uncontrollable. And yet, for the people in the colonies, Stefan was something Earth had long abandoned. a hero who bled for them. Ileana met with him in his quarters the night before the Ștefan assault. The lights were dim, and on the wall, Stefan had placed a 3D projection of medieval Suceava, reconstructed from memory and fragments of lost archives. Its walls were high. Its banners fluttered, proud. The simulation shimmered in silence. "You miss it," she said. "Only because it's gone, not because I would return to it." He sat beside a weapons rack, half ceremonial, half functional. "But what I led then, I see again now. People willing to rise against the impossible." Ileana nodded. "But it's not just the core you'll have to fight. Earth Command is afraid. They think you're building a movement." "I'm building a defense," he replied. "They offered silence while the colonies fell. I offer something else. Resistance." She paused, then stepped closer. "What if they order your recall?" He looked at her, and there was no anger in his eyes, only resolve. "Then let them come. If they remember what I was, they know better than to try and leash me." Ștefán's battle came fast and brutal. As expected, the corps deployed a fortress line of cruisers and siege cannons, but Stefán's gambit worked. The fake deployment, combined with real-time solar interference, sent core sensor readings into disarray. They overcorrected their position, exposing their flanks. The Vlad's Edge infiltrated their core logistics ship, detonating its antimatter cells. In mere hours, the siege collapsed. Civilians from Ștefan flooded the comm channels, chanting an ancient name few of them even understood. Stefan, Stefan, Stefan. But it wasn't victory without cost. Commander Niak's ship took a direct hit during extraction. Stefan, against orders, piloted a shuttle under fire to extract the wounded. The footage spread across every colony feed. Stefan, armored in old steel and new tech, pulling bloodied crew members from a burning wreck as energy bolts lit the void around him. He had become more than myth. Back on Earth, Chancellor Rove slammed a fist against his desk as news broke. "This is dangerous. He's no longer just winning battles. He's redefining command structures, rewriting loyalty. If we don't control the narrative now, we'll lose the galaxy to a medieval ghost." A secret directive was drafted. Operation Silencer. Agents were dispatched under deep cover, some posing as refugees, others as field medics. Their mission was to eliminate Stefan quietly, but not quietly enough. Ileana intercepted fragments of encrypted comms. The data was incomplete, but damning. She took it straight to Stefan, who stood in the observation deck, watching a nearby moon rotate lazily under starlight. "They want you dead," she said plainly. "I expected nothing less," he replied. "Fear has always made cowards brave." "So what now?" He turned toward her, face carved in silence. "Now we plan the impossible." The next morning, Stefan gathered his captains, not just human, but alien allies too. The Soryari envoy, a shimmering intelligence in humanoid form, stood at the circle's edge. They had remained neutral in the galactic conflict until now. "Your victories," the envoy said, "defy probability, but not reason. You command not with calculation, but with conviction. We are intrigued." "Then join us," Stefan said. "The core are but shields. What they protect is darker." The envoy tilted its head. "There are older forces, but you, Stefan of Earth, may yet move stars." Outside, his growing armada shimmered like a blade being drawn from its scabbard. The war had changed, and Stefan was ready to lead its next chapter. The stars over Enceladus shimmered with quiet anticipation as the Suceava flame descended into low orbit. Ice geysers erupted from the moon's surface, casting fleeting prisms against the void. Stefan stood at the helm, cloaked not in steel or armor, but in the weight of what lay ahead. The resistance was no longer a whisper, it was a symphony. But with every chord of defiance came the tightening grip of Earth's retaliation. Aboard the command deck, Dr. Ileana Voicu had just decrypted the final sequence of the Earth Council's Shadow Directive. The agents sent to assassinate Stefan were already embedded, some disguised as allied officers, others posing as medical support within the Voyevode Pact's forward units. It wasn't just an assassination attempt. It was a purge. "We've confirmed 5 identities," Ileana said, her voice sharp with urgency. 3 have proximity clearance to you. They're waiting for the summit. The summit, the fateful gathering at Arcturon, a once-forgotten relay station now converted into the Resistance's de facto command citadel, was to be the moment when scattered militias formally merged under Stefan's united banner. Delegates from over a dozen outer worlds had already begun arriving. Even the Soryari had agreed to send a diplomatic envoy in person, breaking their millennium-long custom of digital-only presence. "They won't strike openly," Stefan replied, gaze distant, fixed on the spirals of Saturn in the distance. "They'll aim to make it look like betrayal from within. The message must be clear. There is no safety in following me." Commander Oren Niak, bearing the scars of Jatan, entered with a firm step. "Then we use the summit, not just for declaration, but revelation. Expose them, turn their dagger into our standard. Blood on the floor of unity will fracture what we've built," Ileana warned. "Only if we allow it," Stefan said quietly. "But if we show truth with restraint, let the colonies see not vengeance but justice, then our cause solidifies." Plans were drawn. The known agents were shadowed, their comms traced, their contact points isolated. No alarms, no arrests, just observation. Until the moment came. And it did. At the summit, deep within Arcturon's atmospheric dome, under banners of stars and sigils from lost colonies, Stefan addressed the delegation. He wore no armor this time, only a long dark coat and the sash of Moldova, reconstructed from archived memory. The room was still. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. "We have not gathered here as rebels," he began, "but as survivors who refused to vanish. They labeled us fringe, failed, forgotten, but we endured. Each of you, from Vesta to Cirrus 6, carries the scars of Earth's abandonment, and now, in their fear, they send knives instead of envoys, assassins instead of apologies." He turned, and with a subtle nod, Oren activated the side panel. Holographic images filled the room, transmissions intercepted from Earth Command, biometric logs, orders signed with hidden authorizations. Gasps rippled through the delegates. One of the operatives, seated near the front, moved too quickly, hand sliding beneath the table. Before it could rise, the Soryari envoy extended a limb, crystalline and swift, pinning the assassin in place with radiant energy. No death. No violence beyond necessity, just exposure. The hall erupted, but not in chaos, in unity. Delegates rose not with division, but resolve. They had been shown the enemy's hand, and now they would close ranks. After the summit, Stefan walked the corridors of Arcturon with Ileana beside him. "They'll come harder now," she said. "You've embarrassed them." "They were never shy about force," Stefan replied, "only about being seen using it." Outside, in the open viewports, hundreds of ships formed new constellations in the void, not organized by Earth, not ruled by any council, but aligned under one truth, that freedom, once taken for granted, had to be claimed anew. A message was broadcast to Earth, not of threats, but of declaration. "We do not seek war. We seek sovereignty. We are not separatists. We are survivors. If you come with diplomacy, you will be met with discourse. If you come with arms, you will be met with fire." Earth responded with silence, for now. But Stefan knew it would not last. Back in his private chamber, he once more activated the simulation of Suceava. The towers, the stone walls, the wind across invisible fields. But now, next to it, flickered the skyline of Arcturon. not a replacement, an evolution. A soft knock came. Oren entered. "We've received word. The Martian fringe worlds have pledged their ships." "And the Soriari?" Stefan asked. "They wish to introduce you to another ally, one older than even they are." Stefan turned toward the stars, a quiet fire in his eyes. Then let them come. The past had risen with him. The present had bent to his will. Now the future awaited.